For the past week in Scotland, there have been strikes all over the place, and it's only because the government refused to listen to us about our unfair conditions of work. There's so many people unemployed, and my husband can't even afford to put food on the table, which means that we have to go hungry sometimes. Charles even gives me his food sometimes because he says that it's his job to provide for his family. That breaks my heart. That's not right. He's working all these hours and he can't even feed himself. It's just... He doesn't deserve to be treated like this. Nobody does. Usually I don't think the strikes are the answer, but this is enough. Something has to be done. We can no longer live like this. I just hope that the government will see the people and listen to us and change their ways. Because I think I can speak for everyone when I say that we can't carry on like this. Not anymore.
I'm scared for what's to come. I'm scared to speak out. I'm scared to take action. I'm scared to defy the government. But we must. We must stand and protest to protect one another, for our friends' and families' futures. Conditions in the workplaces are indescribable and dangerous. Our wages are being cut down as each day goes by. Food prices are increasing dramatically. So, how is anyone going to survive? We're either going to die doing our jobs or starve to death. But the government and the politics, they think that's okay. How can that be right? We're being denied our basic human rights. So we must stand together as a united front. What's the government going to do then? Can't get any worse than it is now. Right?
The conditions of the cotton mills are unspeakable. Every day our children are being sent to work there, and every day only the lucky ones return. Our fellow colleagues and our friends are being charged and executed on counts of treason, sentenced to death, allowing thousands of people to watch them take their last breaths, but not allowing them to make any kind of political speech, to give their followers and their colleagues hope of a better life. We must join these protests, these strikes, these marches to show that we stand with our friends, to show them hope for a better future, for a more equal future, where it won't matter what job you have, where every workplace will have safe working conditions, where you can go to your job and not fear it will be the last time that you get to see your family. We must stand as a united front in order to fight our cause, to make the world a safer place for everyone to live.
April 1820. The Radical Wars just ended. An entire week of strikes and protests in an attempt to get the government to improve people's working conditions. And the result? 88 people charged with treason, some of whom were executed. 20 sentenced to penal transportation and no government reform. That's 100 families at least who are now missing fathers, brothers, husbands, all because of the government's unwillingness to care for people. My dad and my mum are constantly telling me that I'm too young to be worrying about this stuff, that I should focus on school and getting myself a good education, but it's difficult to focus and work hard when you know that whatever job you end up in, you're going to be overworked, underpaid and subjected to awful working conditions. Being young, I am hopeful for change in the future. But for that to happen, the government has to listen. The government has to care if we're ever going to live in a world where people can speak up and use their voices free of fear. If we're ever going to live in a world where people can come together and stand up for what they believe in.
I'm fed up. I am so fed up of this, of all of it. All I've seen for the past few months is Black Lives this, Black Lives that, blah, blah, blah. But not one single protest about our lives. Why is this protest focusing on Black lives only? I mean, surely all lives matter, right? No matter what colour, your skin is, your gender. I mean, all lives matter. I mean, it's not just black people getting murdered. White people do as well. But you don't see hundreds of people protesting about that, do you? No. I mean, I'm all for equality, 100%. I really, really am. But I just think that when people come to protest, they should protest for all lives and not just black.
This is about protecting the young innocent people around us, to create a non-racist future for them to behold one day. Who knows what George Floyd could have become, what he could have created and what he could have achieved. But that was stolen from him during his prime. He wasn't the first or maybe even the last to have suffered from this brutal act of racism. So something needs to change. Something needs to change now. At the protest, adults and children were being pepper sprayed into silence for speaking their own minds. They were being denied their right to freedom of speech, and this is not okay, and it will not be tolerated any longer. We need to stand as one to speak out for this denied social issue. We need to make it known that it is not acceptable. We as a society need to recalibrate, to see one another as equals and not enemies. We need to change our criminal justice system as it obviously harbours systematic racism. But it is always swept under the carpet by the government. So we won't stop. No, we're not going to stop. We will keep protesting until we see change.
Black Lives Matter protests are not happening because of the killing of one man. They're happening because our children are being brought up to believe that they're superior, plainly due to the colour of their skin. Racism is not born, it's taught, and from a young age, it's not brought up as an issue in the household because it doesn't affect your family. But it does affect our friends, our neighbours, and our colleagues. They face struggles every day that we could never even imagine, yet they don't let it show. They get up, they go to work, they go to school, and they don't let it show how much it hurts them when they're segregated due to the colour of their skin. Something that's unchangeable and should not be given a second thought. It's our job to stand with our friends and our colleagues and our neighbours, to show them that they are not alone in this. They have someone to lean on when it all gets too much for them to handle. Now is the time to show them that while we can never fully understand the struggles that they are facing on a daily basis, we will be there to stand with them throughout their journey. We may have all made mistakes along the way, but mistakes are forgivable. When you don't learn from your mistakes, that is not.
It's May 2020. The people of America are taken to the streets in the middle of a global pandemic to protest the cruelty of their police system, not only in the name of George Floyd, but in honour of the hundreds of black people who are murdered by police every year. We see these people march for the lives of their loved ones and they're called violent. They kneel in protest and they're met with tear gas. These people are carrying centuries of hurt and anger on their backs and they're expected to be peaceful. It doesn't make sense. But I know you're listening to this now thinking, oh well, I'm not from America, so why should I care? But the UK is far from innocent. Black people in the UK are 8 times more likely to be searched by police on the basis of nothing other than their skin colour. They're forced to scrutinise and overthink their every move in order to keep themselves safe. White people. How many of you would think twice before putting your hood up on your walk home? Or have to think about whether or not you might look suspicious walking in a certain area? Not one of you. Because all of us are brought into the world with the privilege of being able to decide how we're perceived. A right that was robbed from black people centuries ago. And it's beyond time that we give that back. Our police system is not broken. It is working exactly how it was designed to, with discrimination for people of colour woven into its core. And we as a society have to take a stand to change that. We have to keep fighting. We have to keep amplifying black voices. We have to make a change.